There is a strange kind of emptiness that can appear after 50. Nothing is obviously wrong. The bills are paid. The people you love are mostly okay. You may finally have more freedom than you had years ago. Yet the things that once gave you something to look forward to no longer reach you in the same way. You make plans, but feel little anticipation. You go out, travel, watch something, buy something, or spend time with people, and the experience is pleasant enough. But it does not stay with you. Life is functioning. You are functioning. Still, something inside feels dimmer. That can create a private fear. If my life is fine, why do I feel so little inside it? The easy answers are usually unhelpful. You may tell yourself to be grateful, stay busy, try something new, or stop expecting too much. But emotional flatness is not always a failure of gratitude. Sometimes it appears when the life around you still reflects who you had to be, while your inner life has begun asking for something different. For decades, excitement may have been tied to movement. Someone needed you. A problem had to be solved. A deadline was approaching. Children were growing. Work was demanding. There was always a next step, even when that step was exhausting. Urgency gave the day shape. Responsibility gave you a role. Progress gave you evidence that you were moving somewhere. Then the structure changes. The children need you differently. Work becomes less central, or retirement appears on the horizon. Goals once charged with meaning have been reached, postponed, or quietly outgrown. The calendar may still be full, but the future no longer pulls you forward in the same way. And that is where this feeling begins to make more sense. One reason is simple: the mind adapts. What once felt new eventually becomes familiar. The home you wanted, the routine you built, even the freedom you waited years to have can become part of the background. This does not mean those things were mistakes. It means novelty cannot carry a life forever. So you may search for a stronger experience. A larger trip. A new purchase. A fuller social calendar. More entertainment. For a moment, something lifts. Then the flatness returns. The problem is not that pleasure is useless. It is that pleasure and aliveness are not the same thing. Aliveness usually contains something more: choice, growth, connection, and a sense that your actions belong to you. You can be surrounded by comfort and still feel emotionally absent if most of your life is organized around habit, obligation, or other people's expectations. You can have company without feeling known. Free time without feeling free. Activity without direction. This becomes clearer when you ask a different question. Not, what would entertain me, but, what part of me has had no reason to wake up? That question can be surprisingly difficult. Many adults become highly skilled at knowing what is required of them. They know how to be dependable, sensible, useful, patient, productive, and available. But ask what they want without needing to defend it, and the answer may disappear. This does not necessarily mean there is nothing you want. It may mean your own desire has spent years speaking more softly than duty. When every important decision has been filtered through responsibility, desire can begin to feel selfish, impractical, or even embarrassing. Eventually, you stop hearing it clearly. Then when external demands become quieter, the silence inside can be mistaken for the end of excitement. Consider a woman named Elaine, 61, who had spent most of her adult life being the person everyone called first. At work, she handled problems before anyone else noticed them. At home, she remembered appointments, organized holidays, cared for an aging parent, and helped her children through every crisis. People described her as strong. Elaine believed them. When her mother died, her children became more independent, and her workload was reduced. She expected to feel relieved. At first, she did. She enjoyed slower mornings and the absence of constant urgency. But within months, the days began to blur. She bought books and left them unopened. She accepted invitations, then hoped people would cancel. She searched for vacation ideas but felt no desire to choose one. When friends asked what was wrong, she said, nothing. Technically, she was right. What Elaine had lost was not only busyness. She had lost the structure that told her who she was. Being needed had given her competence, connection, and a clear place in other people's lives. Without realizing it, she had learned to recognize aliveness through demand. A ringing phone meant she mattered. A crisis meant she had a purpose. Exhaustion was unpleasant, but it also confirmed her value. Now peace had arrived, but peace felt strangely empty because no one had taught her how to exist without proving her usefulness. This is why simply filling the schedule often fails. If Elaine joined 5 committees, planned 3 trips, and made herself indispensable again, she might feel more energized. But the old pattern would only be wearing new clothes. She would still be waiting for other people's needs to tell her that her life mattered. The deeper task was not to become busy again. It was to discover whether she could feel real when nobody required a performance from her. At first, Elaine resisted that idea. She did not think of herself as someone performing. She had genuinely loved her family and cared about her work. But a role can be sincere and still become too narrow. You can love helping others and still use usefulness as the main evidence that you deserve a place. This is the part that is easy to miss. Sometimes the loss of excitement is not caused by having too little in your life. It is caused by no longer receiving the emotional reward that once came from an old identity. The responsible one. The successful one. The caretaker. The person who never falls apart. The person everyone can depend on. Those identities may have protected you. They may have brought belonging, praise, predictability, or safety. Perhaps being useful helped you avoid rejection. Perhaps achievement gave you a sense of control. Perhaps staying busy kept grief, uncertainty, or loneliness at a manageable distance. The pattern was not foolish. It may have helped you survive an earlier chapter of life. But when the chapter changes, the same identity can leave you stranded. You are no longer being asked to live as intensely through duty, yet you have not learned another way to feel valuable. Calm is interpreted as emptiness. Freedom feels directionless. Rest feels like disappearance. So the flatness may be doing something unexpected. It may be protecting you from the vulnerability of wanting again. Wanting creates risk. You might choose something and discover you are not good at it. You might care deeply and be disappointed. You might admit that the life you built no longer fits perfectly. It can feel safer to say, nothing interests me, than to face the uncertainty of becoming a beginner, changing your relationships, or allowing a different self to emerge. The absence of excitement can therefore become a waiting room between identities. The old self no longer feels alive. The new self has not yet been given permission to exist.